Mr. Carmichael.
Mr. Edward Haynes.
How you doing, my friend?
Not bad for a Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, pretty good.
Why not? Well, not bad or pretty good?
I'd say pretty good.
Yeah,
definitely.
A Wednesday afternoon is normally not a good time for you?
Wednesdays are generally my rest days, so I always feel a wee bit, I don't know really what to do, fill my time with what, but yeah, it's been all good today.
Do you generally feel more energized or more tired or more hungry? Is it like does it change on a rest day versus a training day?
Yeah, I can definitely feel the difference. Like I'm way hungrier, way hungrier. Like today, like I feel like I could eat everything in the office and more.
Yeah. I mean, when that sympathetic curtain has dropped down a little bit, you just feel everything a little bit more. I'm exactly the same.
How's your day?
I have had. I think about that question. I'm in a really good mood.
Yeah.
I've had a really good week actually, all week this week. Just lots of really exciting projects happening at the moment. I feel like there's a lot of things clicking into place. Yeah. It's been like a pretty tough past couple of months, I would say. Not a couple of months, maybe a month and a half. Like just lots of change, lots of uncertainty, lots of like pivoting, I guess, just like changing, I guess like critiquing the way we do things and seeing how we can make them better. And a lot of that process has been just searching for answers, and so just a lot of times you're looking at a blank piece of paper, you're opening your laptop, wanting to do something creative and there's just nothing there. And it's just time and just continuous thought towards these things have been the key ingredients. Now, like we've got a great business plan that we feel very confident in. The team is great. Lots of really exciting things happening with the process. We've just been traveling recently to these different competitions and connecting with our community, and I know they really appreciate it. It reminds us how much we love doing that, and I know the rest of the world can see what we're doing.
Sure.
And it just like solidifies how important community and connection is to us, and that is something that we want to be at the heart of like everything that we do. And just getting that like clarity on that just feels really, really nice. And like now I'm just really excited to crack on. I just feel like I've got a billion more ideas than normal, and I'm wanting to execute all of them. But it's just one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. I think it's been pretty crazy to see all the competitions here in Asia just all of a sudden fire up, because we've not seen that in like 2 years or 3 years or even more because of COVID. And obviously here in Asia, COVID, especially Hong Kong, was pretty strict. So I guess like in the past 6 months, like it's just woken this massive beast, and there's competitions everywhere and communities getting together, and it's really, really cool to see.
And that was always the ambition for us with the process, right? It was like, we're going to create this online coaching organization, but we want to be traveling around. We want to be connecting with our community, whatever that community looks like, whether it's athletes, whether it's coaches, about to launch this coaching course. But we wanted to always be getting out there and doing that. Because it's something we kind of used to do before the pandemic, and then that just kind of stopped everything. And not only that, but it just became really hard to fly out of Hong Kong, and flying in was really hard.
Was even harder. Yeah,
I feel like Asia was probably like doing things, but we just couldn't really see it, so we didn't really feel it and couldn't really be a part of it. But now that's all happening, it's like just crazy.
It's all go.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Liam, I'm really good. And the sun is shining today.
That's what I was about to talk about now. The blue out there in that sky right now is very special.
Just like,
so good.
What a difference to the day it makes when you walk out your house in the morning and it's a blue sky. Temperatures dropped a little bit. The humidity's down. It's just like, this is just always the best time of year in Hong Kong.
Agreed.
And it's like, you can't not walk out your house and have a massive smile on your face.
Yeah.
Liam, what have we been working on recently?
We have been working on, as you said, we've got a lot of projects going around, but I think our biggest project right now is our individual coaching course.
Go.
Yeah, we have been talking about this individual coaching course on the podcast for about 2 years. And we can finally say that now this course is releasing to our affiliates next Monday.
Yeah. So November 6th will be the first cohort for our affiliates. So all of our existing affiliates, we've got 9 affiliate gyms all together. All the head coaches from those gyms are going to be doing our very first ever cohort. So just for our affiliates. And on January 1st, 2024, will be where we actually launch it to the world.
Exciting times.
Yeah, pretty great. We were just sat outside reflecting, and I agree. I got to a point where I was almost embarrassed to talk about the course.
But then you kept sending dates, and I was like, God, he's sending another date. Don't do it.
Why I always put those dates out on things like Instagram was I was using it to try hold me more accountable to achieving those dates. And then that date would just sail past, and we were like, nah, we're nowhere near.
It's not happening.
And I think just what the course looks like, and we're going to talk about that today, has just changed so much. And a massive addition to the team has been having Chris on our team.
Big shout out to Chris Toison.
We have been filming for over 2 years. Basically, start of the pandemic, we had a bit of time. This is the time to do it, Liam. Like, you're in for the ride with me. You know, every week, almost like every couple of days, we're putting in hours of just filming content in that room. And we've been at the point where we've had basically 24 hours of content already filmed up in the library, done. And then we just could never get over that next hurdle as to like, okay, well then how do we now deliver it? And I think we both thought it was just going to be a really simple job. We've got the links on Vimeo. You know, we're just going to just upload them to a something, and then you just start the course. And then since Chris has come on, you know, he's been tasked with basically doing all the back end stuff of the course, and he's been doing a lot of work, putting in some hard hours. And we're both realizing now, I think, holy shit, there was a lot.
Yeah, we were way off the mark.
And if we never got someone like Chris, and it was just you and I reckon in 2025 we'd be like, course is coming out, guys. It's been 3 years now.
Yeah, it's coming.
But yeah, so damn excited. So yeah, we have been full throttle on that.
Yeah.
We're going to hit this deadline for our affiliates. I mean, we've got our first call tomorrow, and we are 100% launching this on the 1st of January 2024. That is for sure. And it's like very, very exciting now. I can't wait to share it with the world.
Yeah, agreed. Can we talk about the backstory of the course on how it actually started?
Yeah.
I just remember sitting outside with you. We're after a hard training session, and we're sitting in our park. Here at Coastal Fitness, we've got 2 parks. We've got the big park that maybe you guys see on Instagram. By the way,
it's not our park.
It's not our park.
Public park.
Public park.
We're basically taking ownership of.
So you'll generally see us in the waterfront park. This is the new park. We were talking about the old park. We actually call it Dog Piss Park because it kind of smells of dog pee.
And that actually is dog piss everywhere.
It's not very pleasant, but we generally go and sit down there after a training session and get our 20 mad in. And I'm sitting there with Ed, and we're thinking, okay, what's the future going to look like? What we're going to do? And we were like, we were just onboarding new coaches at the time, and we both sitting down. We're like, okay, right, well, we need to take them through the whole mentorship process again. And you're looking at me, and I'm looking at Ed, and I'm like, should we not just start our own course and just make this whole thing a lot easier? Because how many iterations of you took coaches through this mentorship? You took me. You took so many other people. I was taking people through, and it was like, we were just doing this thing over and over, and we're like, why not just do this thing, do it once, and then release it to the world? And we're both sitting there thinking, yeah, why not? It'll be pretty easy. Now, bearing in mind that we have never created any sort of course in our life, any educational process whatsoever. And it's like, yeah, we can do a course. And I don't think we actually realized then and there how big of a project it was actually going to be. But now reflecting back, that's like 2 years gone. The thing that we've created now is fucking special. It's really, really cool to see. And obviously with the help of Chris, that's really allowed us to elevate the product that we had or still have. But when we look at these PDFs and the videos and stuff, it's just really cool to see all that hard work is now coming to fruition. I really cannot wait to share with everyone in the world.
Yeah, I remember that day very vividly. And you're right. You know, I'd done 12 years of onboarding coaches. And basically every time the onboarding process, it would come round again. You know, there'd be some little changes, updates on prescription of how I would onboard a coach, or teach a coach how to be a great coach, really, is what it came down to. But I then had created 12 years worth of basically Google Docs sheets of the onboarding process, and just like always updated, always kind of edited, changed it. So I knew I had everything there. It was just like, how do we now make this something that the world can access and not just have to read a Google Doc? You know, we can film it, and basically the blessing of the pandemic was it gave us both a bit of time and space to be like, right, it's now or never. Let's just get started. You know what's funny though? Back in like 2013, 14, when I first started opening a gym, people would always ask me like, what is your future going to look like? And I've always said I'm going to be educating coaches at some point. I didn't know what, when, and to be honest, it was like I've always had this like dream in the back of my head that I know I can do it, and I know I'm really passionate about it. But it was just that my my work life wasn't set up to allow me to actually go and execute it, right? It was just like there was just too much on my plate of everything else that I just would never have the time to sit down and actually create something. And that's why, you know, I always talk about the pandemic and say that I'll look back on those days and be very grateful for so many things. And this is just one of the many things that I'm so happy has come out of it. But I think let's talk about the course, because I think we just alluded to the fact that we started filming it initially because we wanted to streamline the process in which we onboarded coaches at Coastal. We also then took it one step further because our affiliate program was growing at the time. So basically our affiliate program is essentially kind of replicating what we have here at Coastal. Independent gym owners around the world who have their own company, their own gym, and basically we just replicate our systems and we put them in there. So the programming, the operations, the way they pay their coaches, etc., like everything is duplicated. And then it was like, well, these guys need to onboard their coaches as well. And so, you know, if we create it here at Coastal, they're going to be able to replicate that and onboard their coaches. And then when we launch the affiliate program, we're like, wow, we've got loads of great coaches in these affiliates, but no one knows how to do individual coaching. Everyone's really good. If you put them in front of a class, they can read fantastic instructions on a television screen that we send them every week. But none of these business, number one, were offering individual coaching, and the coaches didn't have the skill sets to do that. And I think there's two problems there. Number one, you know, when we look at the revenue that we earn here at Coastal Fitness, 50% comes through personal training. So we have a packed out group program, you know, it's 170, 180 members year round in our group program. And that is only half of our revenue that comes from coaching. Crazy. Another 50% comes from personal training, and it always has done ever since we opened Coastal Fitness in 2013 as an actual gym. After being a freelance gym, that has always been the case. So then you think about these gyms that we're serving and helping, they don't have a personal training or an individual coaching arm of their business. They're missing out on a lot of potential revenue that they could be generating. And so it's like, well, how can we help these businesses grow even more? And then the next part to it is going back to the coach. It's like, well, if we want to think about what does a coach's journey look like long term? We know that in the CrossFit space especially, so many coaches are in a CrossFit gym, coaching group classes for 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 years. And then it kind of gets to that point where they're like, what's next? You know, they're no longer being challenged in terms of like the complexity of their job. They're really good at running group classes, but they've got no further way to develop themselves intellectually, and they've got no way to further develop themselves financially because they're just going to have to coach more classes. And eventually there's only so many classes in a day that are always going to be your peak hours. What do you do then? And then what happens is you have these coaches leaving the CrossFit gyms, moving into other industries, which are more sustainable, right? Which is the word we hear all the time. Just like, why can't coaching be sustainable? And I really think that a massive missing part is the fact that people don't have the skill set which can allow them to diversify, you know, continue to coach people, but in different ways. Like, it's not just group coaching, it can be remote coaching. They can live anywhere in the world and still coach people, you know, develop deep relationships with people one-on-one and charge a premium price point, which can, you know, earn you a lot of money, you know, if you're good at your job. So that's kind of like, those are the problems that we're trying to solve right now. And it all originated with us trying to solve our own problem here of onboarding coaches. And you were the last kind of coach I onboarded and was like, we need to change this. We got to streamline this process. Like, videos and things are easy these days. And then it's just kind of grew and grew and grew. And we're like, wow, there's actually all these problems that still exist within our ecosystem. I would add one more to that. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, which is then it's like, our goal is to impact people's ability to live, perform, compete. We talk about that all the time, right? And we know that in order to really impact lives, like, who is in the most powerful position to make that impact? It's the coach. It's a person who people pay and they invest time and money into to be able to change their lives. So if we really want to create impact in the world, we've got to be starting at the coach, right? And if we can start to develop that coach, you can then have impact on the people that he or she serves. That's how we're really going to make impact. So then it became even greater than just thinking about the process programming family and our affiliates and our coaches. And it became more about, well, every coach in the world don't even have to be in a CrossFit. This course isn't just about CrossFit. In fact, it's really very hardly tied to CrossFit at all. But all those coaches in the world right now who are super passionate. They have so much potential and talent to give because they have their heart is in the right place where they want to help people. And that's what brought them into this industry in the first place. But then they just lack the skills and resources to be able to actually go and turn that into a career that can be long lasting. So it's like, that's where it's like the ultimate purpose. We're going to have the biggest ripple effect into the world. We've got to be serving the coaches of the world who can then pass our method and our knowledge onto the people that they serve.
Yeah, that was a lot, Ed.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you. A lot to unpack.
I got goosebumps.
But yeah, that is really,
it.
really good. And I think it still blows my mind that, like we said, there's still businesses out there that do not offer a personal training service. Like, that is crazy. And it just goes to show that people are not, when we asked our affiliates, why are you not doing personal training? And they said they didn't have the confidence and they didn't have the knowledge to go and actually impact people's lives through personal training. So there's a huge gap in the market. When you look at CrossFit, generally what happens is people get their level 1, they get the level 2, and maybe they go level 3, but there's not really much happening after that, and that's very geared towards group class training, right? So you're looking at the coaching, okay, yeah, like you said, they've done 4, 5, 6, 7 years of group class training. Yes, they can try and make that sustainable. Yes, they might be making a bit of money, but they're missing out on a whole other potential out there. And I would imagine most coaches' intention when they go out there is to impact people's lives. They want to help people, right? And there's only so much you can help someone through a group class model. Like, there's so many good things that happen in a group class, but there's also so many good things that can happen on a one-on-one setting. And I believe if you're a coach, if you've got the toolkit to go out there and impact people through a group class method, but also impact people in a one-on-one setting, you're winning as a coach.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like you're the business and the coach, right?
For
you
sure.
Diversify your offerings.
Yeah.
And it's essentially doing the same thing just with some small little tweaks. And I think it also really comes down to like deep impact, right? It's like the group program, if done correctly, I think we do it really, really well, can have really deep impact in people. But there are some people that just don't want that. Right? Maybe their needs go beyond what group class can offer. And it's like, well, how do you also help those people? And I think just that there's so many, honestly, like really valuable life skills that come from being a great individual coach. Correct. Like the ability to develop relationships, the ability to communicate, the ability to be empathetic. There's just all these skills that get cultivated through coaching that have amazing carryover to everything in life.
I think that's something that we talk about in the course. We've got a whole chapter dedicated to, it's called Person Before Coach. And we really believe here, in order to become a really good coach, you first need to become a really good person. Now, we are not saying that you have to be a perfect person, because perfect doesn't exist, but you have to be constantly working on yourself. Even if your jam is group classes, you still have to be developing yourself as a person in order to become the greatest coach that you can be, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Let's talk about what will a coach achieve by doing this course?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just going to have a really fucking big toolbox to go out there and make change in people's lives. Like, they're going to have the ability to assess. Like, I think that's something that's missing in the personal training space, where people are not even assessing, just onboarding. I think just having an onboarding process is fundamental to everything that you do in a one-on-one setting. So really nailing your onboarding process is going to be key. Once you've got that onboarding process, now when we say onboarding process, we're talking about initial consultation, we're talking about intake forms, we're talking about physical assessments, body composition assessments, etc. Once you've nailed that, well, you're then going to have the skills to understand what you're physically seeing in the assessment, to go out there and write an individualized program. And I think that's where coaches get it wrong. It's like people are saying, yeah, I'm a one-on-one coach, but are you actually really an individualized coach if you're not onboarding and assessing the person that's in front of you? So a lot of people are just using templated programs. For me, that's not individual coaching. Yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, I think the assessment process is so key. And I think there are many great assessments out there, and everyone's kind of putting their own iterations of assessments out into the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing that we're honest about with this course. Is this course is a culmination of our learnings from all of the mentors and the great programs and the great certifications out there in the world that are really having an impact. And what we're putting out there is basically the methodology that we've been using for a really long time, that we know works and we know is based on years and years and years and years of repetition and scientific principles. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel with anything here. And it's just, we created an assessment system that we think gives you all the bang for your buck data that you need to then go away and start that training process with your client. Yes, there are way more things you can use and add.
Sure.
And we always say that, take your own things that you've learned in the past and like fluff this up and give yourself even more chance to collect more data. But I think the next bit that we do really well on this course is the program design part. And I think that is a part, assessment's super important, but I think program design is a minefield. And it's probably the part of coaching that most coaches get really stuck on. It's kind of like nutrition for the general pop, and how that is such a minefield and know where the hell to start. Coaches have that same experience when it comes to writing programs. And it's like, in school, when you're doing PE, you learn about the basics of like overload principle and specificity, and you learn the basics of programming, but then it's like with a million exercises in the world, like where do I start? Rep ranges, rest periods, training frequency, training volume, like where does one start? And I think that's what we do really well. We basically break up the course into 3 program design sections. We talk about resistance training, so just resistance training alone. We talk about energy system training, energy system just alone. And then we talk about blended training, where we're basically, if you want to combine those two for your clients, how do you design it? And we go into the weeds, the details of all the things you need to know about how to then structure it. And I think we do what we've done differently to a lot of courses. We provide a lot of case studies. It's like, okay, but this is our client, this is their goals. Let's write this program together now. And we basically walk through our step-by-step process, which I think is missing. And I think a lot of people have really good theory over like, okay, hypertrophy is, 8 to 12 reps, muscle endurance is 20 reps and above. But it's like, how do you actually put that into a program? And what does that actually look like when you present that to your client? So I think the program design part is what makes our course really unique. We definitely touch on things like the lifestyle nutrition side of things as well. We also know that like we have to stay in our lane. We're not trying to be the next precision nutrition with this kind of stuff, but it's like, what are the basic stuff that coaches need to know that honestly contribute like 90%, if not more, of change when it comes to nutrition and lifestyle with the clients that we serve. So we kind of present our own like unique pyramid. We talk about the lifestyle essentials all the time on social media. Basically, we take a deep dive into that, and it's like, how do you then figure out a starting point for your clients, and what's a great way that you can progress people through these different avenues?
And I think that a lot of people or a lot of coaches get program design wrong because they're just not assessing or understanding who is actually in front of them, right? If you, going back to this whole assessment process and initial consultation, if you just sit down and have a really good conversation with your clients, program design is just naturally going to fall into place because you're starting to develop this relationship and you're starting to see who is actually in front of you. Then when you move into the program design thing, what we do really well is we're just giving principles, but we give a lot of frameworks, and the frameworks are not super rigid. Again, like you said, it's for the coach to then take that framework and implement it into the people that they work with, because each coach has got their own demographic, right? Some coaches might be wanting to work with CrossFitters that want to make it to the quarterfinals, for example. Some coaches, their demographic might be males over 35, dad. That's their demographic, and that's who they want to target, but they just don't have the frameworks and the principles. Like we talk about all the time, you've got to get creative within the principles. As long as you stay within the principles, you're good as gold. Where coaches go wrong is that they're trying to mix in 12 different methodologies, and we know that a methodology is not a principles, right? So that's where people kind of go wrong within the coaching space.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like once you learn these principles, which we talk about in the course, you can apply it to any sport, to any goal, any physical thing that you're striving to achieve. You just apply the principles and it works. And it's like you speak to coaches, and I do it on this podcast all the time, from so many different disciplines. Our approach to getting someone better is exactly the same. It's just a CrossFitter is doing a snatch, a powerlifter is doing a bench press, a deadlift, and a squat. A runner is doing running progressions, but like the same principles apply. It doesn't matter what the discipline is. And that's, a big part of this course is we didn't want to just make this for CrossFitters. I think that the CrossFit coach, so the CrossFit coach in the CrossFit gym is massively underserved in the individual coaching space. And I would say that when you compare the general CrossFit coach compared to the rest of the coaching industry, when it comes to assessment and program design, they are behind the bell curve. And this is not a bash on the CrossFit certification. The CrossFit certification level 1, 2, and 3 is fantastic for teaching you how to move well, how to teach and coach and cue movement, and how to run a really great group class. That it's probably the best in the world at that. But in terms of the individual side, it doesn't really address any of it. And of course, the group CrossFit is a group coaching model, so that makes total sense. So yeah, you know, we're behind in that sense, and so the principles here. We didn't want to make it just about CrossFit, because we also know that most people walking in a CrossFit gym who are going to be interested in individual coaching don't actually care about CrossFit. They just want someone that's going to help them achieve their goal, which most of the time is, you know, improve their body composition, live long and prosper.
And it's interesting because I just obviously signed up for my half marathon, and we were sitting there and we were talking about like running progressions, and it's like, if I just use the same principles as if I'm programming for a 10-minute assault bike test, but I put that towards a half marathon, and it's the same principles. Like you said, if you understand those principles, then you can get creative and you can apply it to anyone, whether it be a mother, whether it be a dad, daughter, whatever it's going to be. The principles never lie and they never fail, right?
Let's talk about how we've actually chosen to like film and deliver this course.
Let's do it.
So I've done a lot of courses. I've done a lot of courses like live courses,
in person, like seminars.
Seminars. I've done a lot of like courses that required you to sit and read through a textbook, and then, you know, maybe like have to fly somewhere to get assessed to pass. Done like university degree type things where you're just flipping through books and going through online lectures. And I've done totally online certifications as well. So when it came to like thinking about how we want to deliver this course, I think we both had a lot of very similar experiences in terms of like how we've learned, and not just in coaching. Like you're a flight attendant, like there was an onboarding process that you had to go through to be able to execute that job to the best of your ability. So what we both decided on was that we didn't want to just be stood up in front of a camera, you know, basically reading off a script, like monotonous, monotone, because if we're going to do 24 hours of that, like that is hard to stay engaged as a student or a participant, which I've definitely like, that's why I've always struggled with online courses. It's just like listening to the same person talking the same pitch for just hours and hours and nothing happening was just really tough. So what we decided to do is kind of almost do it like it's a live podcast, right? So basically it's like two of us, we're basically doing all the videos together. And it is a lot of theory based, but it's a lot of like sharing of experiences, questioning, brainstorming as we go through things. So things like case studies, we're genuinely doing these case studies live, like we were just in the office talking about how we want to write the next build cycle, the next LPC cycle, or how we want to write Liam's mum's training program, where it's like back and forth, scribbling out, no, that doesn't work. And so that was a whole idea. We wanted to keep it engaging. And I think as well, from like a presenting standpoint, having someone to bounce ideas off, way more enjoyable and way less pressure as well to have to like nail the perfect script.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that when we set out, it's like, okay, how are we going to deliver it? Should it just be you standing up and literally just like reading off a script? And we're like, no, we can't do that. That's not us. And we kind of, like you said, we took the model from the podcast. The podcast gets a lot of engagement. We got a lot of good feedback. Why? Because it's two guys sitting, talking back and forth, sharing experiences and asking each other questions. We wanted to take that model into the course. And also we've done it in our PT room, which is a small studio, and we've set up and we've got a blackboard. I think the blackboard was a great addition because it allows us to then write as we speak, right? Like you said, within those case studies, it is live and you will hear a bit of back and forth of banter. And I think that's just really cool because it allows the human aspect to come through rather than just standing up there and being a robot. If you're standing up there being a robot, it's A, very hard for the person that's being the robot, and B, it's very hard for the person to digest and, like you said, stay engaged and actually digest all that information, right?
And it actually made the filming process really
fun. Yeah, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah. No, I mean, we took a bit of a break whilst we were trying to figure out how to actually get these videos, and we've just recently kind of started up again because we realized there's some holes we wanted to fill, some videos we wanted to redo. And like, I genuinely loved getting back into that. It does feel like we're doing a podcast talking about something that we're both extremely passionate and knowledgeable about. So it's been an absolute joy to do.
I also wanted to talk about, the previous question was, what will the coach take away from this? Or what will the coach get out of it? I think what we have to talk about as well is that the whole generalist versus specialist topic. I I think that's something that we talk about throughout the course. And what we are basically saying is that we want you, again, to have all these tools to go out there and be a generalist. Now, when we say generalist, it's like, yeah, you've got the ideas, you understand the basic knowledge, but you're allowed to impact if the mission is to go out there and impact as many people as possible, versus the specialist, which is the coach that goes really deep down the rabbit hole of, for example, bench press. And he only wants to work with the person that wants to do bench press. And that's all good and well, but we're saying that's not what we want. We want to push coaches towards being the generalist, and that's going to allow for sustainability.
Yeah, and again, it just comes down to principles, right?
Yeah,
so if once you've done this course, you can get as specific and go down
as you want,
deep into rabbit holes and all sorts of movements, gymnastics, sport. But now that you'll have the principles, you'll be able to know how to then navigate that sport or that goal, that activity, and create training programs to be successful. And that's basically what the sport of CrossFit is, right? It's like you just got to understand what the sport is requiring you to do, and then apply the needs of that sport to the principles in the same way you would prep a tennis player or a rugby player, or someone's going to run their first marathon, or someone's going to do a 10-minute assault bike. But I think just to maybe finish that question is that I genuinely believe, in fact, I know, because this was a part of like our specs when we designed this course, is that once you have done this course, you will have all the essentials you need to then go and start a career if it's the very first time you're getting into coaching, or have a coaching career blossom because you've just got everything you need now to go and crush that career.
Can we talk about the stages? I know we kind of touched on it. So also we're saying we've got 6 stages. Stage 1 is going to be onboarding and assessing the client. Stage 2 is going to be nutrition, lifestyle. Stage 3, like Ed already mentioned, that's going to be all about resistance training. So we're talking about periodization, etc. Then we move into sustainable training or energy systems. And then we move into blended training. And that 6th and final stage, which I think is probably one of the most important and what really sets us apart from any other organization, is developing the professional. Now, when we say developing the professional, we're then starting to dig into like, who is this actual coach? Before we're talking about go out and impact all these people's lives, who are you as a person? What is it you want to achieve? What are your values? How do you develop your brand? How do you develop relationships? And we believe that that really is the cornerstone of coaching. Like I said at the beginning, we believe that really good people make really good coaches.
Yeah, we knew when we made this course that was 100% going to be a chapter, and we wrestled with the idea as to whether we should start the course of this or we should finish the course of this. We both wanted to start the course of this because we see it as like the really important stuff that coaches don't think about enough. It's like being a great coach and having a great career in this and really impacting lives is so much more than just assessing and writing programs. It's like you as a person, and you can have, how many times have we seen it in any industry? You can have all the theory and knowledge in the world, but if you don't have that ability to present it, to build a relationship, to build trust, and to market yourself, really, then all that theory and knowledge is just wasted. So the reason we ended up putting it at the end was because, like, well, we know how important this thing is, but we're not sure that the rest of the world really appreciates the importance of it yet. So we think if we start the course of it, it might actually push a lot of people away, or people might think that that's not what they've actually come here for. They might think this is kind of some bogus waste of time thing to do. So instead, we're going to put it at the end. But I want you guys, whoever does this course, and I hope you guys do it. I hope you guys know when you get there that we believe that this thing probably could have been at the start and probably would have set yourself up for a much greater journey. The only thing is, stage 6 requires a lot of deep thought and introspection, and it's definitely not something. It's not something like energy systems or resistance training program design where you can understand the theory, get the basic principles, and put them into practice straight away. Stage 6 requires like a lot of digging, sitting with your thoughts, reflecting on your history, reflecting on your past, asking yourself hard questions about who you want to be, who you don't want to be. And that's, once you open that tin of worms, that can stays well and truly open for the rest of your life. So yeah, we do definitely see. I'm glad you brought that up.
And I really do think that is the modern coach. Like, I am a big believer that you can be, like you said, you can be really good at program design. You can be really good at onboarding people. But if you fundamentally don't understand how to have good conversations, and not even just have conversations, we're now starting to talk about things like social media. like finding your niche, who is it you want to work with, like that for me, that makes you a 360 coach or a modern coach, right? 20, 30 years ago, you could get away with being really good at program design and that was it. But now for you to be a stellar coach or a rock star coach or really go out there and stand out from the crowd, no longer is it just program design. You need to know all these other things when it comes to developing your brand, understanding your niche, how to communicate, how to listen, what are your values, what's your guiding principles. These are all the things that are really going to make you stand out from the crowd as a coach.
I think another thing we talked about in that last stage was identifying your strengths and matching your strengths and your interests with jobs which align with them. Because I think there's this idea that's like this cookie cutter approach of what a coach should look like. Or maybe we all have like a mentor or a hero or someone that we inspire to be. And we think that what our journey as a coach should look, it should look the same as theirs. But truth be told, like we all have very, very different, unique skill sets that have been cultivated through, you know, the lives that we've lived, the past job experiences that we had, the interests that we have. And within coaching can look a million different ways. You can be someone who's working with a very specific demographic, elderly populations, kids, athletes. You can be someone who's coaching groups, coaching school kids, coaching individuals. You could be an educator where you're coaching coaches. Maybe you want to be as knowledgeable as a coach, but you actually don't want to coach. Maybe you want to be in a position where you're enabling coaches to coach. You're playing a supporting role in a gym or a company.
Business development,
right? And so what we're saying is that, you know, we want to help you identify what those things are and show you where you can flourish. Yeah. And, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself to having to be, you know, this cookie cutter individual coach and whatever you deemed that to be. Like you can take these skill sets and really go anywhere or evolve into something beyond that. Like I certainly know that, and both of us, you know, I can definitely speak on behalf of you. You know, we came into this coaching world as individual coaches first and foremost. And like when I look at what I do now on a day-to-day basis, it's all within the coaching space. It's all things I'm like extremely fired up and passionate about. But I'm not just coaching one-on-ones anymore. I'm doing so many other things where I just happen to have these interests, these skill sets that developed over the years that I could channel into something like a podcast or coaching education or helping affiliates run better businesses or working with elite athletes. Like all these things are just kind of like evolved over the years. But the thing that I've always done and that you have done is ask yourself that question. It's like, what skills do I have? What jobs am I currently doing that I'm loving? What jobs am I currently doing that I'm hating? And how do I maneuver myself to get myself to the point where everything that I'm doing is something I love and something I'm really passionate about? I know people say, that's just this North Star principle that no one's ever going to actually achieve. But I really believe, because I experienced it myself, that 99% of my day of my week is genuinely doing things that I really, really love. And like, I think you would agree as well.
100%.
So like you can get there. You can 100% get there.
And I love the fact that that's the way the industry's going, kind of going back to that modern coach principle where the coaching industry is just so big and so vast that there's so many different things going on. Don't pigeon yourself to just being on the coaching floor. But hey, that might be actually what you want to do for the rest of life, is just be on that coaching floor. And by all means, go and do that. But the industry is so vast and so big, and it's forever growing. Like we're seeing it through social media, the introduction of AI is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's really cool.
Let's talk about like what this actual course is going to look like. In terms of like how we delivering this course.
Okay.
So we talked about the stages already. You guys know you're going to be seeing me and Liam in front of a blackboard a lot of the time. There's a lot of case studies.
A lot of different haircuts.
A lot of different haircuts and different variations of facial hair. Terrible facial hair from me, pretty good facial hair from Liam.
Thank you.
But so what we basically done is that this will be delivered through an online platform. It will be kind of like it will be gamified in a sense that, you know, there'll be a timeline that's guiding you through the whole thing. Each stage is broken into obviously a series of shorter videos. It's not just one 10-hour long video. After each video, we have created a small set of exam questions. So kind of just 3 questions that we put at the end to really just test to see if you've been present and you've been engaged within that lesson, because we know how easy it is to just wrestle your way through a course, not taking in any information and just basically being like, yeah, you got the certificate and being a qualified coach. We didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a really cool feature that we added. And I remember you saying that to me. I was like, fuck yeah, that makes sense, because I've been in the situation where I've took a course and actually I just want to get to the end to get the shiny piece of paper. But this forces you to slow down and to see that if you're actually understanding what we're trying to present.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got that for every single video. And, you know, we're talking over 24 hours of videos here. You guys will have a quick 3 questions that you got to get through. Something you're going to have in each stage is assignments.
Yep.
And those assignments, there'll be most likely at least 2 for, for each stage. And every assignment will require you to submit something, and you'll be getting feedback on everything. And this is something I think is really important we touch on, Liam, is we've made this commitment now as a company that everything that we do, whether it's our affiliates, whether it's online coaching, or whether it's education, there's always going to be a community and connection aspect to it, which is, we didn't want this course to just be this course that has all these videos on the internet. You just pay us some money and you just work your way through the course. We want it to be a part of your journey. And we know that in order to really make impact, there has to be connection. People feeling like there's someone there they can lean on, they can ask questions, they feel connected to something greater than them. That's the whole ambition behind the course. So with every assignment that you submit, one of our education team will be responding to everything. That's an absolute guarantee. So it can be, you know, giving you more thought-provoking questions, or just giving you some quick thoughts on, you know, what we think about the assignment. It's not necessarily a pass or fail, because so much of coaching is not about pass and failing. It's about it's about understanding why you're doing something. So assignments are going to be a part of every single stage. You won't be able to move on to the next video until you pass those little 3 questions, and you won't be able to move on to the next stage until you completed your assignment. These assignments aren't going to be, they're not like university degrees. It's not going to take you a week to complete. The whole idea is to challenge the individual and to find a way for them to be able to showcase their knowledge and understanding of the subject without it being a debilitatingly big commitment for them to do. There's going to be a handbook that comes along with it. So yeah, we wanted to speak to both the visual and audible learner, but also like the person who likes to read. So we've created a handbook of supporting documents that you will basically follow along at the same time as you go through the video. So we have created a lot of templates and things that you can use. They'll all be there. You'll have kind of like downloadable versions of it, or of course you can kind of like snap a photo and use that in your own coaching practice. We'll have chat forums. So we want everyone who's doing the course to be able to connect with one another. That's something that's super important. To be able to share the journey with other people going through similar things, and hopefully build some new relationships, friendships, professional relationships, as you go through this course.
I think having those chat forums and having cohorts, that kind of keeps the individual accountable, right? I know that previous education certificates that I've done, well, there's been no connection. You're kind of just, or there's no accountability. You're kind of just going through it and you're like, oh, well, if I miss a couple of weeks, it's fine. I'll just get back on it. But if you know that, hey, you're set up in this cohort with 12 other individuals and we're all going to be jumping on a call every second week, well, you better make sure that you've read or you've done whatever you have to do before you go on the call, because no one wants to turn up to the call and be like, what are these guys talking about? So I think that's really powerful as well.
And also just to know that you got other people to lean on,
for sure,
because there's going to be parts of every course that's going to be challenging for some people, and to know that you've got, a bunch of other people also going through it that you can reach out and speak to. I mean, that's literally how I got through university. Maybe more plagiarism, but having other people that I could just lean on for some help and support was like very encouraging to help me get through it.
Okay, let's talk about how the person can actually buy this. There's 3 different tiers, right?
Yeah, so we kind of like wrestled with this a lot as well. Like at first we were like, should it just be an online course that people can just, like an evergreen course people can do whenever they want? And then we were like, no, we want to be a part of this process more. We want to really help people. If we're going to have impact, like we've got to be a part of this somehow. That's where like the assignments and the exam questions and like the forums became an idea. And then we then decided that, listen, why don't we give people a few offerings? The course is there. So we've decided on 3 offerings. Number 1 is going to be the all-in, like the premium, the platinum offering is going to be a mentorship. So we're going to be offering one-on-one mentorships where you will basically have your own coach, your own educator taking you through the whole program. So that will look like you'll be having calls at the end of each stage, but it's just going to be one-on-one calls. You're still going to get all your assignments responded to. And that will be something that you can start at your own time. And then, calls will be coordinated with your mentor. So we've got the mentorship, and then we've got cohorts. Cohorts we foresee being kind of the probably our biggest offering that we're gonna in terms of participation. What a cohort is the course will be starting at set times throughout the year. So we're looking at probably starting with 3 to 4 cohorts in 2024. We'll be obviously communicating when that start date is going to be, and basically a group of students will start at the same time. So then that group of students will be having group calls at the end of each stage, where we will talk about the previous stage, an opportunity to do Q&A and just discussions. And of course, on top of that, they'll also be getting their assignments all individually responded to. And then the last offering we're going to provide is going to be the solo offering, which is basically you can start the course at your own time whenever you want, but you will not have the group or the individual call aspect to it. So what you will still have the assignments to submit. You'll still receive feedback on those assignments, but really you're just kind of chipping away at the course at your own pace in your own time.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, we thought a lot, quite long and hard about this, but I'm really happy to have landed on this because knowing that I think something we really believe in is the content of the course, but then understanding that not everyone absorbs information in the same way. People are restricted by things like schedules, like if someone travels a lot, you got time zone issues, because we are based here in Asia, which means like we're very, very accessible on our calls to the Asian market. But if you're someone who's the other side of the world, that makes the calls a little bit harder, more challenging. So that might be a restriction. Finances might be a restriction as well. So it's like we wanted to provide 3 different price offerings based on what people could actually afford to give. And I guess just like learning styles, some people like to have that one-on-one accountability, just like individual coaching. Some people prefer to be a part of a group, like group coaching. And some people prefer just to follow along, like, the YouTube people who just find their programs on apps and online and just do their own thing in their own time. So we wanted to provide something for everyone to still be able to take in the content that we've created.
Well, I don't know about you, Ed, but I'm really, really excited about this course. It's something that I've been working on, and for the past maybe month or 2 since we really had Chris on board and we really committed to the deadline of November 1st, having everything ready. It's really put a fire under my step, and it's taken up a lot of space mentally and physically, but we're now at a point that we're just really excited to release it to you guys and get some feedback. And we're here to say this course is probably not perfect. The first iteration, there's going to be many iterations, we guess, but we're going to try and get it as good as it can be. And we're looking for some feedback as well when we launch it. Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm doing this podcast and talking about it and just like zooming back a little bit because we've been so in it and just reflecting on the whole journey up into this point and, just how much impact we really believe this can make. But like you said, there's going to be evolutions of this course, and it's going to continually evolve. Like I already have a million ideas as to how we can add more, provide even more value. We want to be creating something like, a back end space where we can continue to upload educational information that everyone's been a part of the course
and stuff,
and get it, evolve this into in-person seminars one day where we're taking people through the course and providing even more value outside of just the online lessons. To help people be even greater coaches. Other iterations of the course, like I want to create sport specific courses.
CrossFit specific.
Yeah, CrossFit, like how to coach tennis players, how to coach runners in terms of like the on-field, like the actual running and the off-field stuff. Nutrition courses, Tammy is super passionate about that, and she is really talented when it comes to education on nutrition and lifestyle. She's like honestly one of the best people I've ever met. And, she has full aspirations to be creating some amazing courses for the world to update their training prescription, their coaching prescription even further. So
females as well.
Females, yes. Females, pre and postpartum, pelvic health, the opportunities honestly are endless, but this is our energy and time is going into this right now. We're going to focus on making this something we're really, really proud of. And we're already there, but just continuing to evolve it. We've got a great team behind us who are bringing this to life. And yeah, I just can't wait.
Exciting times.
So I want to just finish, Liam, by thanking you for being a part of this whole process. Well, I couldn't have done this without you. I know this has been a dream of mine for a really, really long time, but it's been an absolute pleasure doing it with you. And if this is going to be like folklore. It's going to be up there for a really, really, really long time. Mate, we're going to be old with that grey hair, and I'll be jacked. You'll be fat.
No, I'll be still jacked. I'll be more jacked than you.
And we'll be looking back at our like many iterations of mustaches and haircuts and being like, wow, that's pretty cool. We did that.
Nice. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Liam.